often we get a collection of cars quite like this for a morning shoot.
And not often we get the space to run them properly either.
Some fairly fast machinery, I'd say.
I know, a good total kilowatt count, I think, and 2.2 kilometers of abandoned runway to run them on.
No wonder we're wearing the smiles we are. Also, an interesting process of elimination here to see which car is going to be our favourite performance car this year.
True, I mean, we've got a mix of cars, different price categories, different performance categories. The one thing they have in common is that they're all performance machines.
And the level is going to be the test, which is 0 to 160 kilometers an hour back to 0 in one go.
It combines a high-speed run and braking in one test, so it's a good all-round test of performance.
Also brings things like power-to-weight ratio, the mass of the car, capability of the brakes. Just in general, I think the package rather than sheer straight-line acceleration.
And the nice thing about it is with this mix of cars, there might turn out to be one or two surprises. The results aren't going to be as straightforward as we might think.
The tests were conducted on a 2.2 kilometer tar runway, which allowed safe testing and lots of space. To make sure that the results were accurate, we used a GPS-based race technology data measuring system, which was installed in each car prior to the test runs. The unit records raw data to a memory card, which is then analysed on a PC afterwards. Several sets of test runs during the late afternoon and early morning were conducted, with the results averaged out to provide a representative overall data set. The runway's 1,500 metre altitude and the fact that it was dusty and not completely level compromised overall performance, but since the methodology for each car was exactly the same, the data remains completely representative in comparative terms. The data was then analysed and expressed in graphic form for easy scrutiny of time, speed, distance, and acceleration and deceleration figures.
With its V10 motor, the R8 is the most powerful car we have on our airstrip, and Audi claim it'll get from 0 to 100 in under 4 seconds, so we know it'll pile on the speed quickly. What remains to be seen is how well it comes to a stop. But win or lose, I love me some R8. And there's a lot to like and love, starting with the Audi's spectacular styling and the supercar presence, the low stance, hungry apertures, and of course, the showcased V10 engine mounted behind the cabin. All of it points to this car's considerable performance potential. That promise was fulfilled on the test track, where the R8 looked rapid and sounded even better. The brakes were pretty impressive too. The R8's interior matches the styling for absolute class and quality. Big bolstered seats keep you pinned in place, and the execution is functional and luxurious, with the switchgear and the dials exactly where you want them. Audi makes the best cabins in the business, and this one is particularly good. The metal-gated gearshift is a highlight, while the aluminium accents provide relief from the otherwise somber color scheme. Given its Lamborghini-sourced V10 engine and its Quattro all-wheel drive system, the R8 was one of the favourites for top honours in our performance test. Getting the car off the line properly demanded some brutal treatment of the clutch, while the big disc brakes stood up well to the equally brutal braking procedure. It was certainly amongst the fastest cars in our group, setting the second quickest acceleration times, but not shining too brightly in the braking department though.
The BMW M3 doesn't have the sheer sex appeal of the Audi R8, but the real attraction of this sleek coupe is in the exquisite detailing that sets it apart from more conventional 3 Series models. The bonnet's power bulge, the huge 19-inch rims, the chrome-embellished gills all signal something rather special.
No performance feature can really do without one of the cars from BMW's M division, and the M3 probably the most classic of those examples. This particular car, a V8 engine, high-revving V8 engine, I have to say, a 7-speed DCT gearbox, and although the car itself looks slightly understated, the performance is anything but.
The BMW excelled on the runway despite those big Michelin gumballs scrabbling for grip under hard acceleration. The M-tweaked V8 has a hoarse, guttural cry that is spine-tingling, and the M-DCT dual-clutch gearbox revels in being worked hard. Behind the wheel, it feels every inch the true performance thoroughbred, with a taut chassis and unambiguous feedback ensuring a close dialogue between car and driver. The result is a car that always feels fast, despite the normally aspirated V8 suffering an altitude-related 18% drop in power compared to the turbo and supercharged models in the lineup. Under that civilized veneer, there's a monster that's crying to be unleashed. The cabin oozes comfort and luxury, but like the styling, the details underscore the M3's dynamic intentions. The driver-oriented ergonomics are superb, with seats that offer excellent lateral support and switchgear that's intuitively placed. The shift paddles, M power button and thick-rimmed steering wheel become vital tools to extract the most from the Beamer's underpinnings. Rear-wheel drive and a fair amount of bulk suggested that the M3 would struggle against some of the performance machinery assembled here, but it ended up in the top half of our group in acceleration terms and really showed its pedigree under braking.
Yes, it's a drop top, so you might think that this car is the softest one in our lineup, but the 370Z is no mincer. It's got a very strong and very smooth V6 motor, although the only thing that might hamper it is the 7-speed auto box, which gets a bit lethargic when you start pressing on. Secretly though, I'm cheering for this car. It's easy to underestimate the Z because of that ragtop, but in reality, the Nissan was one of the surprise packages in our lineup. The V6 engine provided plenty of go, and the exhaust note is more than enough reason to blat it around the countryside. The chassis feels more together than expected too, despite the lack of a metal roof structure. All of which means this is a real sports car, and the reason, of course, we included it in our list of performance machines. The 370Z Roadster, like all ragtops, looks best with the top down. The otherwise bulbous shape of the Z looks sleeker and sharper without the roof, but loses none of its muscle car appeal. It's certainly no hairdresser special. Those big eye-catching wheels emphasize the Nissan's planted stance, while there's a certain classic appeal to the long nose, the bulging wheel arches and the large diameter tailpipes. The cabin is a good balance between comfort and function, with a sense of genuine quality that's reassuringly tangible. The steering has a meaty action that suits the car's dynamics, and everything feels solidly screwed together. There's no skimping on luxuries either, making life behind the wheel a pleasing experience. The Roadster's V6 remains one of the best in the business, but doesn't quite fire in the same league as some of the big guns here. The same goes for the auto gearbox, which is smooth and shifts with surprising speed, but isn't incisive enough. Still, the Z shone in the braking department.
Subaru has a proud history when it comes to motorsport and to performance cars, and of course the STI badge is a legend in its own right. Nothing else quite sounds like a Subaru Impreza STI either, because of the flat 4 engine that it has, and as far as performance is concerned, of course, a very rapid car indeed.
The STI's performance character is suitably expressed by the interior design, which links dark colours and amber-hued instruments to aluminium pedals and metallic finishes. It's a masculine environment dominated by high-backed Recaro bucket seats that look and feel just right. The classic recipe of all-wheel drive with an adjustable centre diff bias and a turbo engine that snorts and crackles makes for a car that sounds and feels exciting. Like most all-wheel drive cars, getting it off the mark cleanly is a tricky affair, but the Achilles heel of the STI in our testing ended up being the brakes. The Subaru's styling suits its pugnacious character. The frontal aspect is dominated by a huge bonnet-mounted air scoop, accompanied by aggressive upper and lower air intakes. Low sills, blistered wheel arches and a rear roof spoiler add to the hatchback's street fighter looks, while the big spoke rims are shod with sticky, low-profile rubber. This is a car that oozes testosterone. On the move, it's a rewarding car to pilot, with razor-sharp reactions and sure-footed, confidence-inspiring handling. The offbeat engine sound is an acquired taste, but suits the STI's overall non-conformist character, while the overall dynamic package feels balanced and approachable.